Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. It's me, Niall. Delighted as always to be joined by Owen, and we're here for a bet and tip show for a big fight. You know, we do these bet and tip shows from time to time for the big fights, and it is a big one. It's Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, the rematch this Saturday night from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. Myself and Owen will be giving kind of ideas of what we might want to throw a couple of quid onto for the big one. As always, before we get into it, gamble responsibly, and we're not kind of preaching gospel here with our tips. I think it's safe to say, Owen, we're just giving kind of ideas, what we might be going for, what might be of interest to some people. But yeah, I like doing these shows. I like hearing the kind of other people's point of view on what they might be going for this Saturday. But yeah, let's jump straight into it. What kind of caught your eye here in this one in terms of a betting tip or tips for the big fight?
I think I always like to look at prices of predictions and, just good value in general. Even sometimes if it goes against a prediction, if the odds are good, it could be worth putting an ACA. But I think, as I've said, and for those who have watched my final predictions video with ourselves, I think Eubank's going to stop Conor Benn, and he's 9-4 for the stoppage. It's pretty similar odds for Eubank to win by points, 5-2. So there's not much in it. But as I said, without going into too much detail, as people watching this will be wanting to have a little flutter on the fight. So yeah, I just think based off the first fight, I think Ben's going to be obsessed with this. That's going to be his downfall. I'm hoping, and to be honest, I'm praying that Chris Eubanks made the weight a little bit safer, and in time. So I think Eubank hurt Conor Benn. As I said, I think it was rounds 9, rounds 10, and Conor Benn 100% had to bite down on his gum shield and survive. I think Eubank will use that. I think he'll get him late, probably rounds 9, rounds 10, around that. You can back round 10 to 12, which is 11-2, but I think that's quite low odds for me to have such a late stoppage. I'd want a better price on that myself. So 9-4, any round, Eubank to get the stoppage. That's what I'll be going with, and I'll be backing that myself on the night.
Yeah, that's a very interesting one. We kind of spoke briefly there off camera, and I was surprised when you mentioned that. I think that is good value, to be fair. But as you say, like it's a tough one because that had me thinking. But like as you said, if good value goes against a prediction you made, it's still it'll turn your head to throw it into an accumulator or something, and that definitely did turn my head. But the tip I'm going for is something that caught my eye. At least one knockdown in the fight, and Conor Benn to win. You can get at 5-2, so just under 3-1 odds on that. I think as we said here, as you said here, and as we said in kind of prediction videos that we've done for this fight, the weight I cannot get the weight cut out of my head. I think it played a big part in the first fight. Well, the weight cut and the rehydration clause played a played a big part in the first fight. A fight I think me and you thought Chris Eubank would win more convincingly than he did, but I think the weight was a huge part in that. And I just think, we've seen Eubank dropped before when he's been kind of drained in weight against Liam Smith, and we've seen him clipped and dropped where previously we've seen him have a good chin. So I think dehydration, could play a part in Conor Benn getting to him and dropping him. But then on the other hand, you could have Chris Eubank Jr. kind of dropping Conor Benn as well. You're going for a stoppage, but Eubank could walk Conor Benn onto something and drop him, and Conor Benn could rally in that and get a points win. So yeah, that's what I'm going for. Eubank Jr. Oh no, at least one knockdown and Conor Benn to win the fight, I should say, at 5-2. But your Eubank Jr. stoppage at 9-4 is definitely a very interesting one. And one that I might be having a look at myself. But yeah, it's a good head turner. But yeah, that was just myself and on with a quick betting tips preview for Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. Big rematch this Saturday night from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, England. As I say, always bet. Please gamble responsibly and don't kind of take our word as gospel. We're just here to give tips. Have a look yourself, see what might take your fancy, And drop it down in the comments below what you'll be sticking on if you're throwing on a couple of quid for this big one on Saturday. So yeah, drop your comments, drop your tips below. And as always, don't forget, please drop a like on the video first of all if you enjoy the content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at ESBR Boxing if you're not doing so already. And follow us on all social media platforms. There's always great content, previews, reviews, breakdowns, interviews, betting tips for, the big ones. So yeah, a lot of great content for whatever your needs are. So yeah, like, share, subscribe. And on, take care. I'll speak to you again.